Hi, Jade.
So today, I picked the topic and I wanted to talk about cyberbullying. I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Cyberbullying. Okay, this is one of those topics that's always been on headlines. I always feel like there's a lot of I don't know. I feel it's hyped up, too hyped up.
Hyped up?
Yeah. Before we begin, let me clarify that I do not think that cyberbullying is a trivial matter. I do understand that there are victims and it's important. I just don't think that I don't think there's a lot of statistics that actually prove that cyberbullying is a lot more harmful than traditional bullying. So I think that's the main thing. I think a lot of media just use it as a headline because it's quite clickbaity lah. So the second thing is that I feel like the focus of the whole problem is in the wrong place. It's not about cyberbullying. It's about the way young kids use social media. So in general, that's how I feel. What about you? I think you're more, you don't see eye to eye with me, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I think there are two parts to this, right? So for the first one, let me give you a bunch of stats, okay? So Singapore actually ranks among the top again for cyberbullying. It's actually been found that it's linked to self-harm, especially among the young in Singapore. For example, like I think in 2018, 3 in 4 youth said they have been cyberbullied and only 3% told their parents. In Australia, cyberbullying has increased to 32% just over the past decades. And the scary thing is that cyberbullying is found to be the cause of at least 3 suicides per week in children aged between 5 and 17 years old. In Australia, it's quite scary. Across all ages, it's estimated that it's responsible for up to 10 suicides a week, which is
wow,
really
750 suicides in a year.
I think the problem is just that, I mean, especially now with COVID, right? But even before the world turned upside down, especially the way kids are, like I think there's just a lot more opportunity to cyberbully than to bully someone in school. I mean, in school, like I remember there were always bullies. There really were always.
Yeah, there really always is bullies, right? I mean, have you been bullied? I have.
No, I've watched people being bullied.
Oh, you are the bully.
No, I was from a girls' school. So in a girls' school, right, like if you, I think subconsciously I felt very strongly like there's a strong chance that anyone could be bullied. So I made it very clear from the start, like, I mean, the sort of image or impression I put out is like, you shouldn't mess with me.
I get that very strongly from you.
Very good. I'm glad it has reached the point where even in my 30s, you feel that from me. Yeah. But yeah, that was like, I feel like in a girls' school, you have to proactively make it very clear that you are not to be trifled with, and then people wouldn't touch you. But I think
everywhere, I don't think it's just a girls' school thing. I think I'm from a mixed school, and I think if you put yourself out to be bullyable, then you will probably get bullied. I'm from quite a rough neighborhood school.
There are some kids in school that I was very upset that they got bullied because I didn't feel like they were. I mean, there are some people who are like very annoying, and then you think those people like might be the target. But some people are really like
they just sway.
Yeah, then they mind their own business, and then for some reason they get picked on. And to me, it's like, why? They're not offensive at all. In fact, like I said, they're very quiet kids, but maybe just sway like you said.
So when we talk about traditional bullying, we are talking about like people like basically pushing you in the corner or calling you names, putting you down, playing pranks on you, pulling your hair. I mean, stuff like that, right? Sometimes it escalates to like beating you up or slapping you, or stuff like that. That's what happened in that's what I considered shaming, constantly shaming, like in school. So that's traditional bullying. How would you categorize like cyberbullying?
Let me give you a few examples. Maybe that might be a better way, and also we can at the same time talk about how like some people really got affected by bullying. For example, just in Singapore, we had like Janelle Uy. She was an ex-influencer, so she had her sex tapes leaked online. Christabel Chua also had sex tapes leaked online, which is bad enough to have a sex tape leaked online, but like for Christabel, she went on to publicly talk about how she actually receives hate mails even to this day. I think this sex tape thing happened maybe a couple of years ago. Right? There's another Singapore victim, which this one I don't understand why. Monica Bay, she was the victim of a peeping Tom incident. So she was very upset with what the school did. She was from NUS, and it was one of those cases where the perpetrator was let off very easily. She tried to advocate for a harsher punishment on sex offenders. specifically when it's done on campus, for undergrads and stuff. And she has received hate mail till today. And I don't get it. Like, unless all these hate mail is coming from like other sex offenders, then of course, like overseas, there are like K-pop stars, like Sobi was wrongly identified in a sex video that went viral. And the worst thing is wrongly identified. And then she got cyber insults. So I'd say, to answer your question, cyberbullying is insults, hate mail. Well, Xia Xue is a very controversial person, right? Because a lot of people think she's a cyberbully. But let's just talk about the fact that she gets a lot of
cyberbully and cyberbullied. In a way.
I don't know, like I see some of the stuff that is written on her social media, and this is funny for me to say because you're sure to laugh if I say I'm sensitive, but I think it'll be quite hard for me to go on if I received that amount of hate mail. Yeah, I mean, it's like, personally, I don't get a lot. I just get people commenting.
You don't get a lot? I'm surprised.
Yeah, really? I don't, I mean, I really don't. I consider myself lucky. Like, the most that I've gotten, and even that sort of small amount, right? My mom gets really upset. Like, usually commenting about my body for some reason, like either too fat or too thin. Like, wow, you put on weight, or wow, you're so skinny. Do you not eat? Are you anorexic? Like, stuff like that. So I think similar to to normal in real life bullying and harassment, it really is how you as the victim or the receiver takes it. So like for me, comments about my weight is like whatever lah. Honestly, that's like, it doesn't really bug me. But maybe if like every single post I put, someone comment on my weight, I might get more affected. I really think like it's what really affects you, and people just say mean stuff lah, and I think it's pretty serious. Maybe Andie, you like them thick skin lah.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I do get quite affected. Yeah.
So, what sort of comments do you get like that you consider cyberbullying?
A lot. I don't really consider them cyberbullying. I'm just like, people are being people, right? And then, I mean, people are really, I mean, there are more mean people than nice people in the world anyway, to begin with. Number one, that's how I feel. Number two, online, you don't even need to pretend because you're anonymous, right? So you have no accountability. So people are gonna be even worse. So for me, online, I just try not to read it lah. Like recently, my friend passed away.
Yeah.
So like my friend Alien passed away, and then like I was watching the live stream on basically they're trying to get the news lah. They're waiting outside the police office waiting for the news, and then it was on YouTube, and then it was live, and people were still like bashing him, like saying things like, "Oh, it's not important. Why are you giving your attention?" And then like, and making jokes like way too early. I mean, then I couldn't take it. I shut down the page very quickly. But I mean, what I'm saying is that I know people are horrible, and I know people are mean, and I know people are going to try and bully you and take advantage of you. But that's life, right? I mean, to me, if you ask me as an adult, that's life. It happens. Okay. So I mean, a lot of the vast majority of the victims that you talk about, like sex tape victims, I really really empathize, because it's really of no fault of their own, and people are unnecessarily mean. Sometimes it feels like, to the females especially, it feels horrible. That to me, I feel it's really quite devastating. But if you are talking about like, if you're a person, you're an artist, or like you're just an everyday person and people say mean stuff, that's part and parcel of the world, and especially of the internet. So just don't read them, I feel. I mean, easier said than done, but you need to kind of build up a defense, like a psychological, mental health defense against these people, because in the end, they don't mean anything, right? There's damage done to you anyway, every day anyway. So you have to kind of learn to deal with it, right? I don't know. Is it very bigotry of me to think like that? Just
to give you some examples of people who have taken their lives due to cyberbullying, that kind of makes it really obvious that this is a real problem. So, one is Tyler Clementi. So he came out as gay because a friend filmed him and his boyfriend kissing through the friend's webcam. And then he got a lot of bullying and a lot of hate for coming out as gay, and he took his life. Another very sad one is Hannah Kimura. So she's a pro wrestler and the star of a show. Yeah, so Terrace House, if I'm not wrong. People call her a gorilla. They criticize how dark she was, how unfeminine she was, and told her to go and die. And she was receiving up to 100 hate messages a day. She also took her life. Buhara, who is, I think this is quite a big one also, a K-pop star. People abuse her for her appearance. People say she had plastic surgery, and they also insulted her for suing her ex-boyfriend, even though this ex-boyfriend had abused her throughout the relationship and was blackmailing her by threatening to release sex tapes. So, I mean, these are examples that cyberbullying is actually really quite, I mean, it's really a problem.
It happens, I'm sure. It happens a lot, I'm sure.
It's really quite serious lah. However, I'm taking into account 2 points that you made, right? One is that we do need to develop a certain resilience, and I would definitely agree with that. You know, the way I deal with it is either not read, or I would delete or block. I know everyone has a way of doing it.
Delete and block lah, always.
But then you see, I feel like from what I told you already, like I actually don't get a lot of hate, and I'm very lucky to not actually have been really cyberbullied. I think the period when I really was maybe 2008, when I did the live show for the Beijing Olympics, right? And then it was said that I said an expletive on
oh, TV. Right. You said
so the expletive aside, right? I mean, what actually really affected me beyond that was that people, of course, had a lot of other things to say. I mean, people, like you said, would just be people. Also, some people are like, why is this person even hosting the show? I remember I was a really...
You got quite a lot of like shit then, like really quite severe. But you should be lucky. I mean, you're kind of lucky because the internet is not like half as developed as it is like right now.
I mean, but it still affected me, to be honest. And I was a very, very young and very green host at that time. So I'm already trying to struggle with the teleprompter and doing things live. And then I was getting insults like, she looks very stiff, she looks like a piece of wood, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, stuff like that. So like you, how I dealt with it was I just stopped reading. Because I still had to go back to work, after the incident. But every night. So like, I still had like many, many nights to go. And I just stopped reading the comments because there was no point. I agree with you on developing mental resilience. So for me, it's surrounding myself with people who are close to me and just not paying attention to this crap.
I feel like there are 2 forms. Like if you get attacked on like your looks, the daily stuff that you do, you definitely need to form some kind of a resilience. But there are like victims of incidents, accidents, and for example, like you said something and then something happened. In those critical period, right, I do think that the bullying can get too much because there's only this much you can take, right? And there's only this, you need, how far can you run away? The internet is everywhere. So I feel that I feel more for the people that are going through like an episode rather than like the everyday, day to day. Because if you cannot even find a way to deal with day to day, then maybe you shouldn't even be on the internet, lor. Right, then how?
I guess the question then is, for example, since you're a parent, what if one of your kids was cyberbullied? Like, what would you do?
Okay, this brings us into this huge other box that like we're gonna open or not, which is
are we using the internet properly, right?
Yeah, are we using the internet properly, right? So okay, the first half that we talk about so much, we are actually focusing a lot on adults, right? So I feel when you're an adult, you're a normal, sound, healthy adult, you need to find ways to deal, grow up, deal. To me, I'm quite firm when it comes to that. Yeah, I'm quite harsh when it comes to that. Like I said again, if it's a day-to-day thing, like if you don't like it, don't use it. Find another way or build yourself up before you. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways online as well. I feel you are responsible to find a way to survive. That's your job, right? You have one job, survive. Try and survive, right? So, but when it comes to children, not very harsh. Yeah. Okay. Then again, I say that's day to day. Like if you are in a particular episode, then my heart goes out to you. Then it comes to the other point, which is like, what if it's my children that got cyberbullied, right? So this is actually my biggest issue with the whole thing. I feel like more than a bullying problem, it's actually a social media problem. Our brains are not fully developed until we're 25. Right. And do you even remember what you're doing when you were like 14, 13? You're just like...
I do, but after studying psychology, I also learned that, the brain doesn't start developing until you're in your early 20s.
Yeah. So like, I feel that the age whereby the internet, that the children are having access to internet and social media specifically is way too early. I personally, I know it's very hard to say. I know parents out there are going to say, oh, you think so easy? Everybody has it. Some schools, they even use it to communicate and stuff, which is why I say like, we need to look into this and actually across the board set up some sort of regulations like and harsh recommendation. You're actually not allowed to have a social media account until you're 13. 13 to me is not even like old enough. I would say like before 13 you really shouldn't even have anything.
Well, and then after, like, for example, I don't know if it comes to you like one of your kids and says like that everyone in school has it, Like, can I have...
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say like it should be the community and or even the government. I know I don't know whether it's something that the government should take care of, but like a higher body should come out and sort of give like a regulation and everybody should follow it. They can be exposed to this stuff, but I feel like under supervision, like very strong supervision. You know, I don't throw my kids to watch YouTube when they are 6 years old and let them just browse whatever they want to, right? I choose what they are going to watch and I give it to them, or I have a discussion with them of what they want to watch. And if I agree, then I let them watch it, right? So I feel this kind of supervision is solely lacking when it comes to social media. I don't know why, but it really should be, probably because social media is so new. In the past, right, if there's anything that is different between traditional and cyberbullying, right, is that if you go to school, you get bullied and then it's a shitty environment. But you get home and then most people will have their family, their siblings, or their very close friends they talk to, and then they kind of deal with it there. And then you're not constantly in that crazy space whereby it's a slippery slope down like darkness. So when you take away that, right, and the kid has access to internet 24/7, social media 24/7, that means they're always living in this dark space.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. Okay, like I'm not a parent, so it's a lot easier to say. But I see like my nieces starting on like having phones at primary 3, primary 4. And I see like, I'm like, I mean, honestly, like they're really kids and they're highly impressionable. Right. And I think that's why it affects them so much. I have a friend's kid who is getting bullied and she is finding it quite hard to cope. And it's worse when you're going through that sort of, I think like even like beyond like, okay, so the stipulation is 13 for now, right? The so-called official.
But nobody cares lah.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
13, like I feel like 13 to 16, at least for a girl, are the hardest years because you're really maturing and growing and trying to figure yourself out. And then if you're online and people are like saying crap about you, right, it's really quite hard to take, right? So I agree with you that the internet should be used in a different way. I mean, for the part about
adults, do you agree that it should be regulated to a certain degree?
I don't know if that's the solution though. I would hate for the government to regulate our...
Maybe like MOE can have like recommendation and then like people should, the schools will have to enforce through that instead.
I think the schools should definitely enforce, because from what I'm hearing in schools, like let's just don't even talk about 13 and onwards. I hear primary schools, like the upper primary kids are allowed to bring phones to school. For some schools, if I don't know if I'm getting this right, but I think so. So in other words, teachers know, and they just kind of accepted that these kids are going to bring phones in anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I would like hate for it to be a government top-down initiative, but I think that parents need to take a bit more responsibility. I mean, honestly, right?
I know it's really very hard because
I get bullied for saying this but I feel like you want to have a kid, then it's such a huge commitment. Then really commit to like, you know, watching your kid.
It's very hard to convince my kid not to when a class of like 40 people, right? 37 of them has a phone. Or 37 of them have 24 hours access to internet. I know of people that like the teachers are communicating to the students via WhatsApp at like upper primary and stuff like that. And to me, it's a slippery slope lah. I'm not a big fan of that, you know, like, or leaving messages on their Instagram and stuff. Like they shouldn't, you know, like really, they are not ready for it, you know. And TikTok is just another like dark place, like So I don't know. I feel very iffy when it comes to kids and children. Like I remember, right? I when I'm an adult, right, young adult, like 21, 22, I was just so confident, and I think I'm like most good-looking man in the world, you know, and it's very delusional and very blinded, but it gave me so much confidence, and all of that came from my parents constantly reaffirming me. But how, if the amount of time you spend with your parents, right, cannot defeat the amount of time you spend on social media. So this reaffirmation of good stuff, right, becomes this affirmation of bad and shitty stuff. So you grow up just being a very broken and low self-esteem person, and that's just not great for anybody or the society, right?
I agree with you, but I don't agree with you on the method. Okay. Like honestly, parents, come on, like so all your kids. Didn't you get this line growing up? My mom used to tell me this, or maybe my parents are very interesting with parenting. My mom used to say, just because everybody's doing it so means you gotta do it. Just because everybody has it so means you gotta have it. In this house, it's a no. I can tell you that like for a lot of things like curfew and all that, I had like stricter curfews than anyone. And my parents were very unsympathetic, okay, to the fact that, oh, but all my friends can stay out till 10 p.m. My mom's like, no, you come back by 6.
6? Like, really? Wow.
Really? Yeah, I'm not even kidding, seriously. So but then I'm just saying, like, if you say, oh, all my friends have a handphone, Because like you said, 37 kids in class all have a handphone. So what? Be the one that says no. I mean, that's just me. Like, I know it's easier said than done as a parent when your kid whines about it every day. But I'm quite sure, like, I didn't just whine, but I fought with my mom every day about curfew. She like stuck to it. You know, I think that like be the one to say no. And if you want to have kids, right, you got to take a bit more time, like you say, like what you're doing with your kids, explaining, drawing out the boundaries and the lines, not just like, okay, here's your 2 hours of TV time now. Or maybe you don't even have 2 hours. It's like your whole day, you just play with the phone. It's also because parents are lazy, they're tired, and they don't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah. We are busy and we are tired. Like that I can tell you for sure. Parents, I would like to hear what you have to say and what you have to say in defense of that.
And of course, I want to give the PSA on what you should do if you're being cyberbullied. Number one is don't respond. I would say that's the number one thing. I don't respond. At most, my response is I block them. Right. Number two, you must know that the cyberbully just wants attention. Number three, try to keep evidence of the cyberbullying, because if you want to go to the authorities next time, at least you have proof. And number four is get help, like talk to a friend, talk to someone older if you're a child or you're like younger, like a counselor or a trusted adult. There is actually a Protection from Harassment Act. It's called POHA. Of course, in Singapore, we have acronyms for everything.
Yep.
And it actually protects you from cyberbullying. It's a sort of like protection order. It protects you because it directs the harasser to stop the harassing behavior, and it kind of puts a stop to this spread of harassing communication. Right. So actually the punishment is quite strict, you know. A breach will lead to criminal prosecution and a prescribed punishment of up to $5,000 fine or imprisonment of 12 months or both. So
I'm sure there are very, very malicious people who will really like go very far. So it's good to be protected. I do agree with you, Andie, that like as adults, we should try to build our own mental resilience. So I think we should always try to do that. But if you need to talk to someone and you don't know how to talk to a friend, we'll put all the hotlines. There are hotlines that you can call just to talk to someone and maybe get advice on what to do next. Yep. So I think there is help available. Please, I just hope that people will seek that help and not take the drastic route. For kids, yeah, I also am curious to know what the parents think. Kids, I think, is where I really draw the line when it comes to it. Can I also, before we end, right, recommend this documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma? It's a very, very insightful documentary that tells us how social media is actually pulling us apart. These apps and machines, right, they are created by experts and professionals and have like millions and billions of dollars behind it. And they are not really tools. They are really just here to take our attention. And while they are doing that, they really split us apart and break us down. They have this whole segment when it talks about like how it affects the kids and how they are too young to actually deal with all that. I think it's very important for us to be very aware. We are in a time or an age whereby this highly unregulated Wild Wild West thing, right, it's getting out of control. And I think we all need to kind of put our foot down and say, like, some things need to change. And I guess, like, I really wanted to do this episode just to raise awareness. Like, the next time that you say you don't like something and you want to make a nasty comment or whatever, right? Honestly, think about the impact it might have on someone else, right? And not just this person, but like, for example, like, so some of the comments, my mom gets very affected, even though I don't, right? This person has like people who love them, and I just think like, you know, can we just try to be kinder? No use one lah. I mean, I love what you're trying to say, but honestly, no use one lah, because these people that are really constantly bullying people, they are broken people. The people that will listen to your advice are not going to be the people that are bullying people out there. So there's really, I actually disagree with you, because really, there are times, yes, because there are times, right, when something irritates me or annoys me, right, and I'm actually tempted to leave some sort of like just a throwaway comment, you know, like maybe something insulting or something like, walao, like, you know, something rude. You stupid. And I actually stop, because I'm human too. I also get riled up by things, but I actually stop myself, because I ask myself like, is this helping? Is this helping anyone? Like, really, is it helping? And also, when you give out negativity, it affects you negatively as well. So why do you want to hurt yourself? It's not worth it lah. Don't lah. Just unfollow and just don't look at this content if you don't like it. That's what I do now. Yeah, so unfollow Jade now. Shut up! Okay, that's the end. Bye, guys. Mute her. Okay, bye.